Hello everyone, welcome to my class today. Today we'll be seeing the next medical surgical nursing topic, that is COPD. So COPD is a chronic obstructive lung disease. As the name suggests, chronic means it is prolonging for more than 3 weeks to 3 months, and obstructive is there is obstruction in the airway to the lungs. So because of that, air is getting trapping inside. That is, the oxygen cannot enter inside nor the carbon dioxide cannot come outside during expiration. So it is a spectrum of disease characterized by progressive, often irreversible. Irreversible means we cannot change, but means the lungs are permanently damaged. It is very difficult to reverse it, and it is a chronic obstruction of lung airflow, so that interferes with normal breathing. So there is problem with oxygenation of the lungs. Two main conditions that occur in COPD. One is emphysema and chronic bronchitis. So emphysema means it is a lung disease where there is permanent dilatation of the alveolar walls. Okay, so in emphysema, due to any chemicals or any pollution, pollutants or any infection, the walls of the alveolar walls are becoming weakened and they are permanently ruptured, so that the oxygenation cannot take place. Okay, that means they lose the elastic recoil and the oxygen cannot enter inside nor the carbon dioxide can leave the lungs. Okay, because of that the air trapping will occur inside, so there is obstruction. So it is called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Again, in chronic bronchitis there is inflammation of the bronchial airway. So when there is when there is inflammation, the mucus clearance will not be there, so more of mucus secretion everything will accumulate in that area and they narrow the airways. So when the airways are narrowed, the oxygen cannot enter inside, so person will go for obstruction. So that is, these two conditions occur in COPD. The causes pathophysiology are all same as that of emphysema and chronic bronchitis. So the link will be given in the description box. So coming to signs and symptoms, patient will have cough. This is to clear the mucus. The body will put on the reflex, cough reflex. And next is chest pain or discomfort. So because there is more air trapped inside the lungs and patient cannot breathe in or out, or he will have the difficulty in the chest, that is called chest discomfort, and shortness of breath, that is breathing difficulty. This is again because of the lack of oxygenation, and due to obstruction the air is trapping inside. And wheezing is whistling sounds you hear during the when you auscultate the sound. So this is because air is moving through the narrowed airway passage. And tachypnea, that is increased respiration or rapid breathing. So here patient will keep on breathing faster, but there is no effective breathing, so person will be gasping for breath. And cyanosis is bluish discoloration of the skin because there is no adequate oxygen entering inside and carbon dioxide is trapped inside. The alveoli cannot give adequate oxygen to the pulmonary capillaries, so because of that there is lack of oxygen to the tissues, and tissues also will start to change color, that is bluish discoloration of skin. Next is use of accessory muscles for breathing. So here other than the intercostal muscles, patient will use the neck muscles, that is sternocleidomastoid muscles, and the diaphragmatic muscles for breathing. Okay, that means patient will have to take labored breathing. So because oxygen is not going inside and carbon dioxide is trapped inside, so patient with great difficulty has to expirate the carbon dioxide. So there will be difficulty breathing, where all the nearby muscles will be used for breathing, and patient will have peripheral edema and swelling of extremities. This is because when there is no adequate oxygenation of the lungs, then the pulmonary capillaries that are coming from the heart to the alveoli, they also don't receive proper oxygenation, and there will be obstruction of these capillaries, so that the blood from the heart also starts back flowing, that is the inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, which are bringing the blood to the heart, all starts back flowing back into the veins. Okay, so when the veins are bulging with more fluid, the fluid starts to extravasate. Extravasate means come out of the blood vessels and they will accumulate in the tissues, so that is called as edema. Edema means increased accumulation of fluid in the tissues, which you can see like a swelling in the extremities. And next, crackles are heard in the inspiration. Okay, so this is because patient having bronchitis or any obstruction, oxygen is not going inside, so you can hear a crick crick sound when you auscultate the lungs during inspiration. Next is prolonged expiration. This is due to COPD, that is obstruction. There is trapping of air inside and the carbon dioxide cannot be exhaled easily. So patient takes a long expiration in order to remove the carbon dioxide. And next, elevated jugular venous pressure. So as I already said, whenever the lungs are affected, even the heart will get affected because the blood is flowing to the heart. So when the pulmonary capillaries are not able to get oxygenated and they go for congestion. When there is congestion, there is backflow of blood from the pulmonary capillaries and they backflow into the venous system. So when the blood backflows into the veins and to the superior vena cava, the neck veins all will get distended, and when they are distended, the pressure will increase. So the name of the neck vein is jugular venous. So there will be elevated jugular venous pressure. Coming to the diagnostic findings of COPD, first they do a spirometry. So spirometry is a small device where they will ask the patient to breathe in a tube and they will measure the lung capacity. So in that they will mainly see, in case of COPD, forced expiratory volume and forced vital capacity. So forced expiratory volume is in 1 second how much ml of air is expired, and forced vital capacity is the total expiratory volume. Okay, so that is the amount of air that is expired totally in one expiration. And next, coming to gold grade. So gold grade is used to identify the severity of COPD. So gold means it is global initiative for obstructive lung diseases. So they have graded as per the force expiratory volume in 1 second. They find the ratio of force expiratory volume in 1 second and force vital capacity. So this they grade based on that forced expiratory volume percentage. Okay, so the previously which I said, based on that percentage they will calculate this. And in gold 1 it is mild COPD where the grade will be more than or equal to 80 percentage. And gold 2 is moderate COPD where the grading will be 50 to 79, and gold 3 is severe COPD where it is 30 to 49, and gold 4 is very severe COPD where the ratio will be less than 30%. So this is the gold grade to see the severity of COPD. And next they do a chest x-ray. So in a chest x-ray you can see hyperinflated lungs and flattened diaphragm and increased retrosternal space and bullae. So these all are because there is dilatation of the alveolar walls. You can see the lungs are inflated, and because of trapping of air, again lungs are inflated, the diaphragm will be pushed down, so there will be a flattened diaphragm and increased retrosternal space. Retrosternal space and bullae. So this is because the air sacs are very big, and the bullae means there is no oxygenation taking place, but this trapping of air and the air sacs are very big. Okay, and then high resonance CT will be done. So in this they will identify the distribution of emphysematous bullae in the lungs. Okay, so bullae are big alveolar sacs which are larger in size and they don't do any oxygenation function. Okay, this you can identify. Emphysematous bullae means it is a permanent dilatation of the alveolar wall. So these dilatation can be seen in high resonance computed tomography, and they do a ABG analysis and pulse oximetry. So in this you can see saturation is decreased and partial pressure of oxygen is decreased because the lungs are not able to oxygenate the blood, and increased partial pressure of carbon dioxide again because lungs is not able to expire the carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide will mix in the blood and there will be increased pressure of carbon dioxide. So these are the diagnostic findings of COPD. Management of COPD. So first is pharmacological management. So in that there are bronchodilators, that means they dilate the bronchus and thereby there is place for respiration. And in that there are short acting bronchodilators and long acting bronchodilators. Short acting means their action is for a short time. So whenever person want to do some activity or go for a walk or doing activity specific that time, before we will give this bronchodilator. So the drug of choice are albuterol, ipratropium and levoalbuterol. And long acting drugs are acylidine, arformoterol, formoterol, indacetrol, tiotropium, salmeterol and umecilinitum. So these are long acting dilators we can give in the day, any time of the day as per the doctor's prescription. Their action will be for a long time. Other drug given are steroids. Steroids helps to treat inflammation mainly in case of bronchitis. So they can give inhaled steroids or oral steroids. Inhaled steroids are fluticasone and budesonide. This is given in the form of nebulizer therapy or inhaler therapy. And oral steroids, they are given in conditions of moderate to severe COPD, and the drug of choice is roflumilast and theophylline. So these are oral steroids. Antibiotics are given in case of to treat infections like influenza, bronchitis and pneumonia, because chronic bronchitis also causes COPD. So for influenza they give azithromycin, and other bacterial infection amoxicillin, cephalosporin, doxycycline and cotrimoxazole are administered as per the doctor's advice. Other treatment done in COPD is oxygen therapy. So oxygen therapy will improve the quality of life and also it will extend life. So most patients with COPD, they will have difficulty oxygenating the tissues, so they have to have an oxygen. So even if the patient is going home, we have to advise him to get a portable oxygen supply. So according to the needs of the patient has to use this oxygen, either oxygen mask or a positive airway pressure mask can be used, and this is portable oxygen which the patient can take it to the home. Next is pulmonary rehabilitation. So because these patients have lung obstruction and they have difficult for oxygenation of lungs and tissues, so we have to help them to rehabilitate their lungs, that means survive with the difficulty, so that their quality of life will be improved. Okay, so that they can function, do their daily functions independently. Of pulmonary rehabilitation program is reducing shortness of breath. So these patients will have breathing difficulty, so we have to reduce the breathing difficulty. And next is increasing exercise tolerance. Okay, because even a small exercise needs more oxygen, and these patients, due to obstruction, they will have lack of oxygen to tissues, so we have to help them to do the activities of daily living and progress with minor exercises. Okay, and promoting a sense of well-being, that means the patient has to live an independent life and survive with the difficulty, so that we have to promote a well-being, that is we have to promote health of the person and decrease number of hospitalizations. Okay, these patients, they have chronic disorder and repeatedly they can have a breathing difficulty, so they have to keep on coming to hospitals. So we have to give some inhaler therapy or nebulizer therapy at home, so that patient can prevent hospitalization and get treatment at home. So the components of pulmonary rehabilitation program, the first is exercise training. Okay, so in exercise training is very important, because if the person is not doing exercise and is lying in the bed, he can go for inactivity and the spasm of the arms and legs. So in the bed we have to give some exercises for the patient, and this exercise should be spaced according to the patient's needs. Okay, like if the person is having breathing difficulty, that time we must not disturb the patient, because that time oxygen need is more. And when the person is normal without breathing difficulty, then you can tell the person to move around the room or do some minimal exercise. Like that, progressively we can increase the exercises, like going to aerobic and strength training exercises, so that he will be relieved from breathing difficulty and have the increased ability to do exercise. The next component of pulmonary rehabilitation program is inspiratory muscle training. Okay, so in this they use the breathing exercise. Okay, that is, in the patient will be asked to take deep breath inside and slowly exhale outside with closed lips. Okay, so this is breathing exercise they do, and mainly they do to strengthen the muscles of breathing. Okay, so intercostal muscles, these are the muscles helpful breathing, so they strengthen those muscles. And this inspiratory muscle training can be done with aerobic exercise. Aerobic is in the outdoors, you can make the patient to sit where the fresh air is coming, there patient can do aerobic exercise. In between he can take deep breaths, so that he will be able to relieve the shortness of breath, and also he will have the ability to do exercise. Next aspect of pulmonary rehabilitation program is psychosocial counseling. Okay, so when the person is having breathing difficulty and so many problems in the body, they will have depression and anxiety. So these are the common reactions which the person will feel during disease process. Okay, and also shortness of breath, it will cause more anxiety and fear, and the patient will be feeling like his life is moving out from him. So sometimes it can interfere with sexual activity, and patient will become more stressed and they will have difficulty managing stress, and they cannot relax because of the breathing difficulty. So we have to give counseling. Counseling is advice and psychological support. Group therapy is all the COPD patients, we can sit together so that they can talk with each other, uh, they can share their ideas. So like that, group therapy with talking and giving some diversional form of therapies can be done, and when needed, drug treatment also will be used to cope with the psychosocial problems of the person. The other component of pulmonary rehabilitation program is nutritional evaluation and counseling. Okay, so we have to see the nutritional status of the patient. So some persons may lose weight, some person may gain weight. So according to the patient's weight, we have to give them counseling. Okay, so in pulmonary rehabilitation, we have to tell the in case of weight loss, we have to help the patient to maintain the muscle mass by eating foods rich in proteins like dal, grain, etc. And also ask the patient to drink so many liquid juices, because liquids can increase the caloric intake and also give energy for the person. So patient should take at least 8 glass of liquids per day, with that which contains at least 6 to 8 ounces in a glass is recommended. Okay, 6 to 8 ounces per glass, 8 times a day the person has to take to meet the nutrition. So mainly patients will be concentrated on liquids, because this will help in easy digestion, and also because of that patient will have ease in breathing, and these liquids also help in liquefying the secretions and removing the secretions from the respiratory tract. So this nutritional counseling should be given. Finally, in the pulmonary rehabilitation program, we have to give education. So education will include all information about the disease. So we have to explain the patient's condition, the pathophysiology, how the disease is occurring, and the drugs the patient will be using lifelong. So their role, their side effects, and what are the benefits of the drug has to be taught. And patients may go with a nebulizer or inhaler therapy. So you have to teach them the correct technique to use the inhaled drugs. And if the patient has the habit of smoking, so this is very important, you have to tell that person to completely stop smoking. And breathing exercises, as I said earlier, we have to tell the person to do pursed lip breathing, which means you have to take the deep breath inside, then you exhale slowly with the closed lips, so that he will not feel the breathing difficulty, and the breathing will be improved. And this and the principles for conserving the physical energy we have to teach, that is, he must not do vigorous exercises. So the oxygen, which is patient is having limited oxygen, so you have to do moderate exercises at home, but strenuous exercises should be avoided. So this all you have to teach the person. Next, in surgical management, so they do lung volume reduction surgery. So here small wedge portion of the damaged lung tissue will be removed. So mainly in the upper area of the lungs are removed, so that there will be extra space. So these areas, there will be formation of bullae, etc. So which will occupy the empty spaces, that is dead spaces. So they remove these dead spaces, so that there will be extra space for the lungs to breathe, and the patient may have efficient breathing, and this surgery can prolong the life of the person. The next surgical management is bullectomy. So bullectomy means, so they are removing the bullae. Bullae are large spaces, that is, I said, in like emphysema there will be dilatation of these alveolar walls, and these are all dead space which won't do any oxygenation. So these air spaces will fill the lungs, so they will remove large bullae. Okay, so these bullae can be removed, so that patient breathing problems can be relieved, and they can improve the airflow. Okay, finally, lung transplantation can be done. It is a good option for patients who are meeting the specific criteria. That means their vital signs, everything is normal, their baseline data of the patient is good, and their grouping, typing, and the donor cells, everything will match the person. Then they can go for transplantation. And transplantation is a major operation, and also there is high risk, because the transplanted organ may be rejected by the recipient. So these are all some problems, and patient has to be on lifelong immunosuppressive drugs, which can also suppress the immune system, and patient may be prone for other infectious and autoimmune diseases. So this is the final treatment done. The other nursing management is same as the pulmonary rehabilitation procedures, and treatment for emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Okay, so these two conditions only will cause COPD. So I hope you have understood my class. Thank you for listening. Please like, share and subscribe if you are interested.